into our school systems. In Middleton alone, that has meant over $150,000. And that money has been able to make a difference to create and expand the programs that are needed to make sure that children in Massachusetts are getting as good, if not the best possible education available to them. But education reform isn't just quantity, it's quality. And when I mean quality, I mean some of the measures that are included in education reform, such as the new time and learning standards, making sure that children in our school systems are not only getting a good education, but they're getting a well-rounded and a long education, an education that they're going to be able to keep and bring with them into the future. One of the unfortunate areas in education reform has been some of the communities like Middleton that are doing a good job funding their schools are unfortunately not receiving adequate funding. That's why I supported and was a co-sponsor of an amendment to increase the amount of funding that communities like Middleton receives from $50 per pupil to $75 per pupil. And I'm proud to say that that has meant tens and tens of thousands of dollars of additional money above education reform that has come to Middleton. Also, I've been a strong supporter and one of the co-authors of the Ed Tech bond bill that is going to provide $86 million in funds to our school districts so that children will have access and use of computers and technology that will make them productive members of tomorrow's workforce.
This is a very complex question to answer in a couple of minutes. So I will attempt to summarize my thoughts in a few paragraphs. I do have quite a bit of personal knowledge of school administration, teaching, coaching, and student activities, and feel pretty comfortable talking about the education reform. Overall, I would say that education reform has benefited the district. While the funding formulas have helped create a level playing field with the per pupil costs, there are a number of areas that need to be reevaluated, including burdensome regulations, unmanageable record keeping, the almost exclusive authority of superintendents and principals, and the ways in which success is actually measured. And I think this last one is perhaps the most important. When we talk about education reform, it needs to be measured in how the students, or how it has actually helped the students learn. There must be some way to measure the success of ed reform against things like high school graduation percentages, college admissions, job acceptances from students graduating from our vocational schools, and objective things like the SAT scores. These will be, in my opinion, the best ways to objectively judge the benefits of education reform, actually how it has helped kids improve their education.
Title V has probably been one of the most contentious issues that have affected my district over the past 2 years. One of the things I want to stress first off is that Title V is a regulation that has been implemented by the Department of Environmental Protection. The legislature has fought long and hard to force the DEP to make changes to this law, to this regulation, to make sure that homeowners aren't squeezed. We have a commitment to protect the environment. That's why I've been a strong supporter of such measures as the Open Space Bond Bill and the Rivers Bill to protect development along our treasured riverways and streams. But in terms of Title V, we have accomplished a lot over the last 2 years to make sure that homeowners are placed with a less of a burden. I supported a $30 million appropriation in the Open Space Bond Bill allowing low interest and no interest loans to homeowners that are upgrading their septic systems. I also supported another $30 million loan program through the Massachusetts state budget. Another area in Title V that we've worked hard on is easing some of these regulations. We've fought for uniform standards across the entire state. We've fought for individuals that are taking inspections on their own and aren't planning on selling the home, just a precautionary inspection to make sure that those individuals aren't penalized. And most importantly, I filed legislation to provide a $2,500 tax credit for individuals that are spending the money to upgrade their systems, that they are able to receive the tax relief. That passed the Massachusetts House. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it included in the Senate. I know that's an issue that myself, Senator Tarr from this region, and so many of the legislators across this area have been fighting for. I know that's going to be one of our top agendas come January. Title V, unfortunately, has been difficult for homeowners. I understand that. I'm a homeowner myself. But Title V was needed to make sure our environment was protected, and that's why the legislature has backed it up with $60 million in loans and has made sure that we can reduce the regulations that have been placed and will continue to reduce the regulations over the following years.
Through my 10 years' experience at the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, I feel quite confident in speaking about, issues such as the Title V and the importance of sewerage regulations and septage regulations. But I do want to make it very clear that while I support environmental protections, it cannot be a burden on the homeowner who is already struggling to pay property taxes, electric bills, medical bills, insurance, and food bills, and so on and so forth. I would support, however, a Title V tax credit that would give homeowners low-interest loans or a 40% tax credit for home improvements. There are, however, problems with the Weld administration's plan for Title V as it exists, and the cost burdens to homeowners. These are not adequately being addressed, in my opinion. Issues such as home inspection, cost of upgrades, point of sale of property, construction costs, and a determination of actual need are still outstanding. In fact, they're still outstanding to the point that the legislature needed to intercept the Weld administration and put these new regulations on hold for a year. There are many folks out there in our communities who are frustrated because they have septic systems that have never failed, and all of a sudden a bureaucrat are forcing major upgrades at very high prices. I believe, once again, that the legislature should intercede the Weld administration in balancing the environmental benefit while looking out for the needs and costs to the homeowner.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for offering myself and all the candidates in this area the opportunity to address you, the residents of this district, and get the opportunity to tell you what's happening up at the State House and what is going to hopefully happen over the next few years. As I said in the opening of this, I've been so proud to be granted the opportunity to represent you in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. It's an opportunity that I have not taken lightly. This is my full-time job. This is a job that I give all of my free time to, plus all of my professional time to. Over the last 2 years, we have accomplished a lot for the Commonwealth, for this district, and most importantly for Middleton. We've been able to provide job growth. We've been able to reduce our unemployment rate to one of the lowest rates in the nation. We've been able to pass landmark legislation protecting the environment, our rivers and streams. We've been able to pass the first, and I think the best, welfare reform law in the entire nation, not hurting children, not hurting people, but making sure that they have the means to become independent and are stripped from the problems of making them dependent. Over the last 2 years, we've also accomplished a lot in the areas of local aid, providing the largest local aid allocation in our state's history to our cities and towns. We've also accomplished a lot in education, providing the tools to our educators that are the front line of making sure that the children in Massachusetts are given the best education possible. And as I talked about earlier on health care, one of the most important issues in today's society, too many people are worried about losing their insurance, and way too many people just don't have it available. That's why we've passed legislation providing health insurance to many of those that don't have it, and most importantly to every child in Massachusetts that does not have health insurance. And also providing seniors in this Commonwealth the chance to receive prescription subsidy so they don't have to make terrible choices of where they can pay for their needed prescriptions. We've accomplished a lot over the last 2 years, and I'm here to ask you to please offer me the chance to do even more over the next 2 years. On November 4th, we have a choice to make. I've been working hard to get the job done, and I hope I'm your choice on November 5th for State Representative. Thank you.
I wish to start out with not a campaign promise, but a personal pledge. I pledge to each of you that I will work very hard at being a candidate and a representative that you can be proud to support. People are going to ask us what this election is all about. They're going to ask me, and I think in many ways, and perhaps more importantly, they're going to ask you, the voter. I would like to share some of my thoughts about this election. I'm here today as a Democrat. I'm here today having the honor of twice been elected chairman of the Wakefield Democratic Party. But I do not believe that this election is about political parties. I believe this election is about community. It's about values. It's about history and knowing from where we came. This election is about a unity, and most importantly, I think, it's about the future. The backbone of any community are its citizens and its volunteers. The citizens of Middleton, Linfield, and Wakefield need a state representative who can relate to their needs, someone who is an active part of community life, and someone who understands firsthand what is important to taxpayers, homeowners, seniors, and young people. It's about being part of the community. This election is about values. I want to share with you what I think some of the important values are. As Americans, young and old, rich and poor, Democrat and Republican, I believe there are 4 basic values that we all share: reliable and affordable health care, a good education, a clean environment, and a strong economy. These are things that we share together as Americans and as citizens. And I want to work very hard to represent and fight for each of those things. Again, I want to thank the League for sponsoring the video voter guide, and thank each of you for taking the opportunity to allow me to speak to your family in this way. I encourage your support of my campaign and ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.